Stay with me. Welcome everybody. We're going to wait for just about 1 minute. There are some people that are still logging on. If you have just joined us, we would invite you to click on the Attendees tab if you're on our online agenda and just check that you're here. We try to keep track of how many people we have participating in these webinars each month. So if you're on our online agenda, click on that Attendees tab and mark that you're here. Otherwise, we'll start in about a minute. Once again, if you're just joining us, we'd invite you to click on the Attendees tab if you're on our online agenda. Mark that you're here. We're going to go ahead and get started. I'm sure that we'll have some other people joining us over the next couple of minutes, but we have a bunch of announcements that we wanted to go through. First of all, we just ask everybody to please mute your microphone unless you're one of our two presenters. If you have a question, you're welcome to unmute the microphone and ask the question, or you can also enter questions into the chat box, and we'll try to keep an eye on the questions that are being asked there and make sure that we share them with the presenters. We have a link to our website. If you're on the online agenda here, you can just click on any of these rows and it will take you to these links. But the first one is to our website, where you can see recordings of all of our past webinars. The recording for this webinar will be up later this afternoon. You can also see a list of our upcoming webinars. We just wanted to review those really quickly. So we're doing this Engaging Schools and Coalitions this month. Next month, we're going to invite Kai Nordfeldt and Michael Seiler back, who are going to give us an update on e-sig policies, and they're also going to have some tools that coalitions can use if they're wanting to get involved with that. And then in December, we're going to be talking about evaluation. We're excited that Bach Harrison has agreed to come and help us with that webinar. So they're going to be talking about things that coalitions can do to evaluate their success, and they'll talk about some simple things you can do even if you don't have any funding or any experience with evaluation. They'll share some tools that we can use to do evaluation, which we're excited about. So those are the webinars for the remainder of this year that we have planned. We wanted to just announce, I know that this is a long time away, but we just wanted to make you aware that the 2017 Utah Coalition Summit is going to be held on June 21st through 23rd, so if you wanted to mark your calendars for that. We don't have any details about it yet. Those will be forthcoming, but those are the dates that we've chosen for that summit. We also wanted to remind you, those of you who were at the summit this year were encouraged to join one of the 3 committees that we have for the UPCA. We have a Member Services and Communications Committee. We have a Training Committee, and we have a Policy and Advocacy Committee. If you click on this link on Craig, I can see that you're saying that nothing on the agenda works. I'll see if I can fix that. If you have to hover over the link, and then you'll see the link pop up just above it, like I have here on my screen. Anyway, if you click on this link, and if you can't get to it, I can just send you the web address. In fact, for this one, I'll just post it in the chat box right now. But this will show you some information about our 3 committees, as well as give you email addresses for our committee chairs. And so we encourage you, if you haven't done so already, to join one of our committees. And next month, we're going to be, these committees are going to be getting to work. So please take a minute and send an email to one of those committee chairs if you would like to be involved with what they're doing. We also wanted to announce that the National Coalition Academy, which is put on by the CADCA Institute, is going to be coming to Utah. We'll do a Coalition Academy just for the state of Utah. We don't have a lot of details on those yet, other than the 2 weeks of the Academy will be the first week in May and the second week in July. If you are interested in attending the Utah Coalition Academy, you can contact the prevention coordinator for your local substance abuse authority. And we'll be giving out more information about that as we get it, but we just wanted to announce that those dates had been chosen. Also, we're going to be doing, the UPCA is doing a webinar series on the DFC grant, the Drug Free Communities grant. We started this earlier this year, so the first webinar was this year, and that webinar was recorded. So if you want to click on this link, it will take you to a YouTube video. You can watch that webinar that we did earlier this year, which was kind of an overview of the Drug Free Communities program. I'm going to post that link in the text box right now as well. We're going to be finishing up that series starting next month. So November 17th will be our second webinar. December 15th will be the third. January 19th will be the fourth, and that will be kind of the finishing webinar. And then in February, we're going to do just an open forum question and answer period. So if you are interested in the DFC program, if you're working with a coalition that's interested in perhaps applying for the grant this year, we would encourage you to go and watch that introductory webinar and then join us on November 17th for the second one. Our goal here is to help coalitions so they understand all of the basics about writing for the grant and then helping them through the process. So by the end of the webinar series, you should actually have or be well on your way to having a complete application for the Drug Free Communities program. The last announcement, almost the last announcement, this afternoon at 1:30 the Health and Human Services Interim Committee is meeting, and they're going to be discussing medical marijuana as well as opioid issues. If you're interested in listening in on their meeting, that will be posted publicly. So at 1:30 we have the link here. Again, I'll post that in the chat box, but if you click on this link, once the session starts, you'll be able to stream it live from that link, and they're scheduled to start at 1:30. For our webinar in December, which is the evaluation, we wanted to ask, our regularly scheduled time for the webinar is December 21st. We know that that's getting very close to Christmas, so we wanted to just really quickly ask what your opinion or preference is. Should we go ahead and hold that webinar on the 21st, or would you prefer that we move it up 1 week to the 14th? So sometime during the webinar today, if you could just post your opinion in the chat box, let us know if you would prefer the 21st or the 14th, and then we'll know how to proceed with that, and we'll send out an announcement if there is going to be a date change. All right, that was a lot of announcements. I'm going to take a break here for just a second. Does anybody have any questions, or would you like more details on anything that I mentioned so far? All right, then thank you again for joining us. We're excited about this webinar today. Again, we would ask you to please mute your microphone unless you have a question or a comment. And you can also use that chat box to submit questions if you would like. So we've had a request on numerous occasions to cover the topic of how to engage schools and educational institutions in coalition work. And we figured there was no better way to address this than to invite the two experts that immediately came to our mind. So we've invited Vern Larson from the State Office of Education, and also one of our regional directors for the Division of Substance Abuse and Mental Health for the state of Utah, as well as Paul Edmonds from the Granite School District. He is the Safe and Drug-Free Schools Coordinator there and has been working on the ground level with schools and prevention for a long time. So both of these individuals we felt like would be the perfect experts to reach out to help us address this topic. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the time over to Vern and Paul. And when they get done, if you have any questions or things that you would like to share, I'm sure we'll have some time, and we would love to have people share your comments. So Vern, Paul, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay.
Welcome.
Thank you, Logan. Appreciate it. We appreciate you jumping on board. And Logan, if you can put up that thing I submitted to you. Paul and I got together and we talked about how to approach this and some of the things that we're currently doing. And so on the screen there, we'll just bop down through these and talk about some of the things we're currently doing in the school. As many of you know me, as I looked at the attendees, you've heard me talk a lot about the importance of working together and kind of the quilt analogy and how we're all part of a piece of the quilt in what we do. First of all, I thank the coalitions for what you're doing, because I'm a firm believer, after working in prevention for many years, that the best work is done with the coalitions, and the coalitions leading out locally. And of course, as you know, schools are a part of the community, and as such, they need to be involved. And Paul, I would ask you to jump in from time to time whenever you feel a need to add to this as we go down through these talking points.
Oh, you can count on it, Vern.
Okay, thanks. First of all, I want just kind of what we have been and are doing in the direction that we're going. And from our office at the state office, I know my passion for this and the direction I want to be going to work with the schools. And over the years, for the last 30 years almost, we've had our school-based program, Prevention to Mention, in place. And we're using that as a vehicle. It's not going to solve all the world's social problems, but it is a vehicle that we can build the capacity of our teachers that they can understand what prevention science is all about, and then they can be doing their part in prevention. And so what we've lately been doing is, as we do these teacher trainings, we're trying to get more and more host school trainings, where we just don't bring in 2 or 3 teachers or from different schools, but we go to an individual school, and in the morning we train half the faculty, and in the afternoon we train the other half the faculty, and talk to them about the prevention science. As we talk to them, schools have always been, the history of it's been, when we have an issue with suicide, bullying, substance abuse, to turn to the schools and provide a curriculum for them to teach. But we realize that schools can't drop education and teach all these various curriculums. And so that's why Prevention to Mention is kind of a foundation. And at those teacher trainings, we are very clear to point out that we're not asking schools to do this all, but the schools are a part of the community. And so during that time, we really do encourage our school teachers to become aware of what are coalitions going on in your area. So it's not just about what you as coalition members can do to go to the schools, but we're also hopefully supporting you by making the schools aware of what you're doing and how you need to go and work with them. Anything to add on that, Paul?
You know, as we've gone through and done a few of those here in the Grant School District, we've seen just some really good results with schools that get everybody on board, get everybody excited, everybody working with a common vocabulary for prevention, everybody working in a common direction with common goals. And so that's been really, really good to see. The other thing that we're trying to help kind of just reframe some of the things, the ideas about the things that are already happening. A lot of our schools are already working with business partners out in the community. They're already working with the local community governments in different things that they're bringing in. And we want to give them that idea of that's a coalition, and you can really just, you get a lot of traction with that, and you get a lot of opportunities to benefit the students with the academically and preventatively, as far as looking at drug and alcohol prevention and some of these other things that Vern just talked about. So it's been a real positive for us in our schools.
Okay, thanks, Paul. And so what we're going to be focusing on, especially this year, as we continue to work with the schools and the districts, we're going to continue to build around this idea of building the capacity of people understanding prevention. And I know in your communities, more and more people you're getting on board to build the capacity at the community level. That's what we want to do at the schools and tie it in very carefully. So we continue to do these trainings, but as many of you are aware, we have developed some training videos and a training manual, and we've done 3 or 4 training of trainers where we get local substance abuse authority prevention workers, we get local coalition, we get local school people to be actually function as a training team. So we have more and more of a capacity for when those trainings are needed, that the local people can basically do them and utilize the materials that have been developed to help them with that. And we're also working right now with Utah Educational Network in putting all this material online. So it'll be easy access to you as coalition members, to our teachers especially, and so that will aid in building the capacity in our schools, and our schools being part of your coalition. So throughout this year we continue to do that. We would ask coalition members to work very closely with your local substance abuse agencies, because they're very much aware of this direction. And then what we can do at the state level to support you locally as you continue to build the capacity of your schools, and your schools then being part of your coalition. And so we're kind of excited about that. Also, where coalitions already exist, we ask you to take a look at the schools that are in your boundaries of that coalition and encourage them to be involved with your coalition, but encourage them to be involved in this training so that their teachers are fully aware of what's going on and have the materials and what they need to support your efforts. I know in several of the coalitions, I know up in the Weber area, and Granite, as Paul was mentioning, up in Davis, we've had schools, the local school people and the local authority have invited us to come in and spend time specifically with those schools that are in your boundaries of your coalition. And we're anxious and willing to do that and feel that that's kind of the best direction to go with that. And so that's some of the things we're doing in essence with the trainings and trying to get our school people to understand prevention and that they have coalition peoples out there to tie in. Anything on that, Paul, or anything from the group that you have any questions so far?
You covered that pretty well, Vern. Are there any questions yet from the group? I'm hearing crickets, Vern.
Okay, we shall move forward. Going down, when it comes to getting in touch with local school people, hopefully your coalition, you know your school people, you know whether it's a principal at a school or maybe your district office. For example, in our larger districts, we have a person like Paul, of course, is there at Granite District, that he's the prevention guru. He's the prevention contact. He's the person for any coalitions that are involved in the Granite boundaries to get in touch with Paul, because Paul will understand what's going on in the district, not only what's going on that you can tie into, what are other resources. He'll understand who maybe some of the contact people are and the local schools that you need to make touch with. So in some of your larger districts, you have that type of a person. In some of the smaller districts, or well, also in the larger districts, many districts have a student services department or support services, and that is usually where prevention resources and prevention falls under those particular departments. And those are the people you'd want to be in touch with and get their support. I've often felt as I've been doing prevention that we really do need prevention champions. Like many of you as coalition members, you're probably a prevention champion. You see the importance of that. I may be a prevention champion at the state level, but for things to go well, I need a person like Paul to be a prevention champion at the district. And then Paul needs someone at the school to be a prevention champion. And that's what we're trying to create, is a variety of prevention champions. And those are the people the coalition kind of needs to tie into. And so big districts, you have that person like Paul. In some of your smaller districts, it may be the superintendent, him or herself, that you need to work with and help them to understand prevention, but also who would be people that you need to contact at that level. And then because of the direction we've been going with prevention in the schools, and with some of the grants that schools have received, we have more and more schools now that have what's called a prevention champion or prevention liaison. So at each school, they have a person that says, yeah, I have a great interest in prevention, and so anything that we want to promote in that school or have that school support on when it comes to prevention, we work with those champions or those liaisons. And so more and more of those are popping up throughout the state of a teacher that's known as your prevention contact there.
Right.
Paul,
and even
this is one for you too on resource, or well, on contacts, who they had contact, like if they got with you guys in Granite.
Right, absolutely. Because even here where, I'm at the district level as a prevention specialist and coordinator over what we're doing district-wide, we've got a lot of different communities that make up the Granite School District, and they each have their own priorities and the efforts and initiatives that they're targeting to improve their own communities. And we stretch from one set of mountains to the other, have some really diverse ethnic and socioeconomic demographics. And so if someone's over in Cottonwood Heights and wants to work on prevention, it's going to look a little different than someone who's over in Magna or in West Valley or Kearns. And so it's really important to, while to make contact with the district level people, but also to make contact with those school-based individuals who really understand what's going on, again, at the ground level in that school, and can be those effective champions and the agents for change. And so we right now we're working with a Kearns coalition and a grant that they received through the Casey Foundation, and so I work with them, and Clay Pierce out of my office works with them, but also Scott Bell from Kearns Junior High, and we've got some administration from Kearns High, and so just that idea that making sure that you're getting the people who are right there, able to know what the resources are, able to make decisions that can impact the direction that the coalition wants to go in. So often those are your administrators. Your prevention champions a lot of times are your counselors and your social workers and psychologists. They have the training to be able to really dig in and understand and move forward with the ideas and initiatives that the coalition is going after. And then they work really closely again with their administrators who kind of make the decisions at the school level as to what resources are going to be allocated to what initiatives. I think most of our school-based people understand the power of prevention. in helping impact not only increasing protective factors and reducing risk factors, but then that has the residual impact on academic performance, which is so important at the school level. And so that's a big, and for the ones that don't, that's a big part of what coalitions can do, is to help educate the schools on, kind of the cause and effect relationship there. Sometimes you'll get a school that's a little, gets the blinders on it, gets tunnel vision on some of the academic efforts, and they forget that if we can prevent some of the things that are keeping kids from coming to school and some of the things that are keeping kids from feeling safe at school, or from performing well at school, then that's going to have that residual effect and impact, and we're going to see improved academics. And so if you encounter a school that appears not to understand the benefits of prevention, then going through that effort of education and educating them in the benefits of education, science, and efforts, that's gonna pay off. Them go just buy in and understand the importance of working with the coalitions for prevention.
I think you're right on, Paul, because thanks for bringing up the information about the academics, because this is a strong selling point to our school systems, that when it comes to prevention, where we're able to show that if we do a good job with prevention and these prevention efforts that are going on, they will help kids academically. And then we can get more of the buy-in from our school folks. Any questions at this point from the group of you that anybody has presently? Gosh, Paul, I guess we're doing okay. We'll just keep going through this.
We must be doing fine.
One thing I think that's a real help to the communities is some ideas that we're trying to do. You're very much aware probably now that schools have to do parent seminars and getting parents out and instructing them on the things such as suicide, substance abuse, bullying, and so forth. One of the things, and maybe Craig, or I don't know if Leanne's on, we were very impressed with, and this has been done in some other areas around the state, but we were very impressed with how you can utilize the schools. Yeah, that's where the kids are at, but you can utilize the schools to get a lot of parents involved in a town hall meeting or a coalition meeting or whatever you're trying to do. And what we did there, as many of you are aware with Prevention Dimensions, there's the music component of that, where kids learn these songs that go along very well with the lessons that are being taught in the concept of lessons. And so what's happened, a lot of times Steve James himself, or sometimes it's not even Steve James, sometimes it's the district music specialist or music director, that once the teachers become trained in what they can do in prevention, and then they have access to that material, the music resources, those kids can learn some of those songs, and then an event's planned in which parents come to see their kids showcase or sing the songs. And that way you get a lot of parents, because you can usually pull parents to events where their kids are involved performing for them. And that was the case they did up in Bonneville, where two different elementary schools, the teachers had the training, and then they went ahead and the teachers were teaching the kids, but then the kids learned the songs, and then they came to an event where they were able to sing those songs, and they had to do two separate events because the auditorium at Bonneville wouldn't hold all the parents from both schools, so they had to do two different ones. And I think that was a great way to not only get teachers involved, but then to utilize the teachers and kids to then get more parents involved in your prevention work and the coalition work that you're doing. So I think that's a great way to engage the schools and helping with some of those parent seminars that they may have. Another excellent thing about, I think, what happened at the Bonneville one that was maybe different from some of the others was they also tied in the parents empowered messages. And the communities, your coalitions are very much on board with Parents Empowered and what you're doing there. Well, I think that was a great thing where they actually had some of the kids that evening shared some of those Parents Empowered messages. It was kind of a nice way to tie all that together. And I don't know, Craig or Leanne, you're on board if you have anything to add to that.
Craig, you go first, then Leanne.
Okay.
Or not.
So
well, let me add, Vern, that with our model, with the parent seminars on youth protection, we do our best to get members of our coalitions in at those events so that they can share the resources they have with the parents there. The parents always come away from the seminar session wanting more, wanting an additional contact or something else they can follow up with, especially where they either just want more information on prevention, or if they feel like their student is struggling with one of those 5 areas of mental illness or substance abuse or bullying or internet safety. And then, of course, we've added the child abuse prevention to our parent seminars. And so that's really a huge positive and a plus for us when we can get our coalition members to come set up a table, share the resources they have, and have everybody there kind of in one place to be able to get the resources out to the families in our district. So that's the model that we try to use. And it's been, and we feel like we've seen some good success out of it.
Okay. Anyway, those are some ideas of engaging schools and some of your community stuff as well. Let me, 2 other things here that want to touch base on that hopefully you as community people can be aware of, and other resources available. As each year, we have a pot of funding that comes over to our office known as the State Substance Abuse Prevention Funding, or Fee on Fines. It's not a huge amount of money. It's for the whole state, it turns out to be about $300,000 to $350,000 that we flow out to local areas, where local districts apply for this money. The purpose of it is for them to enhance at the school level and what's going on locally as well. So first of all, the prevention dimensions materials, that's provided for them. And so everybody throughout the state has access. But if districts would like to build onto that with other prevention activities, other prevention ideas, they apply for the funding to do that. Part of that grant application actually requires the districts not to just fill that application out by themselves, but they work with the local substance abuse authority as well as any local coalition. And it would be my hope and my desire that when those applications come in, that if a district has coalitions within their boundaries, that coalition is working with that district in supporting that application, but giving input into that application, so some of those funds can actually be used to support local coalition efforts and what's going on locally. Because that, in my mind, would be a great enhancement to what you're doing at the local level. And so I think opportunities like that come around that the local coalition is hopefully right on board with the district and saying, we could use a little bit for this or for that or whatever the coalition had in mind. So I wanted to make you aware of that, that resource that does come, and that's a thing that happens about every spring. An application goes out where districts fill that out. And so that's another reason to build good partnerships. with your local district and see, and even in some districts haven't applied for that. But you could be certainly one as a coalition member or leader to go to the district when that comes out and say, hey, we'd like to have you apply, and we'd be willing to support and help you and give the direction to what that application may look like for us locally. And so when it comes to that, if any of you have any questions about that, don't hesitate to get in touch with me, that we can fill you in on more of the timeline of that as you move forward. But it's like I mentioned earlier, it's not a huge amount, but there are some funding. It's some funding that can go to local areas to help support your prevention efforts and what you're trying to do locally. And I know Paul has applied for that, and I don't know if you have anything and some of that, maybe supporting some of yours. I better not talk for you, Paul, when it comes to that.
That's our application evolves every year with the new things we learn, and one of the things I know we added this year was providing funding for some of our secondary leadership teams to be able to go and learn more about bullying prevention and come up with their own student-led plans based on the research that shows that they'll listen to each other sometimes better than they'll listen to us as adults. And so we wrote some additional things into that. And just looking at this, I know that next year I'll definitely be writing some things in regarding coalition involvement and ways that we can strengthen those things. It's a little bit of a unique challenge being as big as we are. There's a lot of different coalitions. It's some other districts are able to focus their efforts on just a single coalition, but we embrace that that challenge and difficulty and love that we have so many people we can work with.
Okay, and then another final thing on our talking points, and then we can open it up for additional questions that you may have or we generated any. I think you need to know at the school level there's been existing and has done for some time a variety of efforts we need to tie into when it comes to the coalition work we do and maybe getting information out to our schools and parents. For example, you have your local PTAs, and I believe many of you as coalition people are very much aware of that, and getting the PTAs on board. So when PTA events and happening, you're kind of doing that together as school and community and coalition people. A lot of opportunities come at parent-teacher conferences that happen throughout the year that you can engage getting information out about your coalition, what some of the things you'd like to do, what are some things you'd like to get information out to parents or so at that time. Also, we have a new initiative going on that's starting to roll out called the Dynamic Duo. This is an effort with the schools. We've been working with Parents Empowered, and the whole thought of this, we did a thing up in the Homestead in the spring where we brought in educators, teachers, counselors, we brought in prevention workers, and the whole idea is the Dynamic Duo is parents and teachers working together to eliminate underage drinking. And so you're going to be seeing more and more of that information coming out, press conference later on and so forth. And a lot of information is going to be going to the schools and from the schools to the parents and teachers working with parents as we show the impact of these two groups working together. And we're looking, anxiously looking at that. I know our Dimensions network or homework assignments or parent connections are changing a little bit. So they're called the Dynamic Dual assignment. So it's actually things that get home to parents where parents can support what kids are picking up in school and vice versa. Schools can support what the parents are doing. So that's coming down. Also, throughout the state, and it varies from district to district, but we have peer leadership teams. Up in Davis, they have impact teams. You have youth coalitions, I think, down in Washington County, and the Good Coalition, Youth Coalition, as well as other youth coalitions. That's an excellent avenue to hook into the schools and communities working together. These leadership teams go into schools and talk to the younger kids. I think that's just another vehicle that the coalitions need to be aware of and promote, and work with the coalitions to how you can really tie in. Because the kids are there, they're in the schools, and they can be a support in what we do in engaging the school better in prevention work itself. And Paul, anything on that?
No, we're excited about this dynamic duo initiative, and looking forward to that getting off the ground and being able to work with parents and teachers together and in prevention for our students. One of the things that we trained our student leaders on at the end of last year, the incoming leaders, was just this idea of coalitions within their own schools. And a lot of times we get these different groups, the SBOs and the student athlete leaders and cheerleaders, and then we've got a PBIS leadership team in a lot of our secondary schools, and then we have all the different clubs and organizations, and if we can get them to act as an in-school coalition where everybody's kind of working with common language again, and their efforts have this prevention science behind it, we really think we can make an impact on prevention in the schools with a lot of these student-led efforts. We're excited about that, and just really like that we can. We really enjoyed what the Washington County Youth Coalition is doing and their efforts, and hope that we can kind of build on some of those ideas also.
Okay, well, thanks, Paul. Anyway, Logan, that's some of our talking points we wanted to share. I hope that's been useful. But it's critical. Oh, just one other thing. I noticed when I went down to the coalition summit down in Bryce, I looked at the coalitions that were there, and I thought, how wonderful, we're continuing to build on that. It would be my goal that when we go down there or wherever we meet this next summer, that every one of those coalitions that are represented there is a school person there with them, and as part of it, because I feel we need to engage more, and I want to support that all I can to get my school people to get involved with the coalitions. But that's a goal I would have, is that each of those coalitions, you have a strong school champion on your coalition. If you have that strong school champion, then they can be an advocate for you in pulling more and more of these components of the school on board with your coalition. Anyway, I hope this has been helpful in terms of what we are doing at the school, but how we have a great desire of making sure when it comes to prevention efforts that the schools are not a silo over and they're trying to do their own little prevention, but that their prevention's tied into the local coalition prevention. And with that, we'll open it up if there's any questions or anything else we need to be doing.
Could I take a minute here?
Absolutely.
Sorry, this is Leanne. I just wanted to say how much the excuse me, how much Vern helped us out this last year. He mentioned the town hall that we did up here, and at two of our schools. And at our first night, we had over 1,000 people in attendance, and the second night we had nearly 1,000 people. And just the energy that came off of that was amazing. The principals, one of them had done this before, and so she knew what was going to happen. The other one didn't. And both of them were very pleased with, the attention they got and the focus that it got on their schools. And the one, Justin, was talking to me, and he said, look at this, because when the kids were coming off the stage, they were high-fiving each other. And they were saying, to the next class that was ready to go on stage, hey, you can do it. It's not so scary once you get up there. And he says, look at the way they're supporting each other. This is amazing. And so there is a lot of good energy that came out of it, and definitely got us on the map with a lot of the parents. And we're working now to implement some things that we can do to encourage the teachers to keep teaching these lessons every month, you know, pizza parties or ice cream socials or something like that. We're working with the school district and with the schools to get this going now so that we can keep this going in the schools. And anyway, it was really exciting, and we're really excited to keep it going this next year. So just wanted to tell you publicly thanks, Vern. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Yep, you guys did the work. That was for sure. Did a great job.
So is anybody else here in Logan running a different meeting?
I see names on the attendee list, but I really wonder if anybody's been talking here, Paul.
Can you hear this other?
I think we can all hear. I think you've just done an excellent job.
Okay, well, I have nothing else. I saw Keisha said she could hear. I hope you're taking care of PD for us down there. Any questions? Logan, you back on? Anything else we need to support you guys with?
I'm here, and it doesn't sound like there are any questions, so I guess you've answered them all.
I hope it has been helpful. And I guess I may say, yeah, if anything comes up in terms of what we can do to support you as coalition people, if you have some ideas or something we can go and advocate for you, please let us know. Because like I mentioned earlier, coalition work is where it's all about, and you guys do great things, and I'm happy to do whatever I can and resources I have to support your efforts, anything that I can. So just be aware of that.
Well, we appreciate that, Verna. I think that everybody would echo this, that we're very appreciative of all of the support that we get from you and your office with the prevention efforts that we're doing in our communities. Paul, did you have something else you were going to say?
No, I'm good. I appreciate having the opportunity to be part of this, and of course I love working with Vern just as much as the rest of you do.
Well, thank you. We appreciate both of you sharing these ideas and expertise and some of the resources that are available. Like Vern said, I think that either of them are open to questions if you have further questions on things that they mentioned. If there's nothing else, we want to thank everybody for participating in the webinar today. If you would like to leave some feedback on the webinars or ideas for future topics, just click on that feedback link here down here on row 27 on our online agenda, and you can fill out that survey and leave us some feedback. And then a reminder that this webinar, as well as all of our previous ones from this year, are posted on our website. Today's webinar will be up this afternoon around 3 o'clock. So if you go to utahprevention.org and click on the 2016 Trainings tab, you'll be able to view those past webinars. And then also one final reminder that on November 17th, we'll be continuing round 2 of the DFC webinar series. The first one is online. You can go watch it if you would like. And then the second one will be November 17th. So join us if you're interested in learning more about that program or perhaps applying for the Drug-Free Communities Grant. Thanks, everybody. We appreciate you participating, and we wish you all a happy rest of your day.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks, you guys. Good luck to all of you.